Maintaining a well-planted aquarium is definitely an art. And today I'm going to break down the secrets of maintaining your planted aquarium and keeping it looking lush and algae free and well kept right here in this guide. All right, so what are some of the things we need? First, maintaining an aquarium, you need an algae scraper for your glass. Second, what we're going to want to go through and utilize as well is our net. Well, let's talk about trimming first. You need some shears because we're going to go through and trim. And then anything you don't need and you want to pick up, you can get a little net. Then you also need some tweezers to replant what you just trimmed and a siphon. This can be for water changes or just cleaning debris out from the bottom of the aquarium. That's what I use for this aquarium right behind me. And also what you need is a test kit. So I went ahead and tested this. I did have some staghorn algae breakout, and the main cause of staghorn algae is bacteria that is gone. So your beneficial bacteria allowed for this algae to break out with nutrients because I feed nutrients into this tank. So the reason for that was, if you didn't remember, I did no planaria on this tank recently, and that's what caused the staghorn algae. Now it's not everywhere, so I can quickly treat it. And basically how I'm going to treat these, since it is in the area, on some crypts, my crypt prevarias, which you're going to see some clips now of the crypt prevarias. Some of them are pretty well taken over, so I'm not going to spot treat. I do have some prize shrimp in here, and I don't want to use an algicide. I try to stay clear as much as I can from these shrimp. From the OE King Kongs are more sensitive. A lot of my other tanks, if something like this happened, I would spot treat it, but this one, not. So I'm actually just going to remove those crypt prevarias and plant new ones in their spot. Other way would be to trim them, but main cause is the beneficial bacteria slightly decreased. And that could have been two things. It could have been mainly, I think it's no planaria, but then I also did a filter change, and I didn't remove or wash it with typical water. I washed it with tank water, hoping to prevent the decrease in beneficial bacteria, but I didn't add API Quick Start back after, so that's probably where it came from. But anyways, you live and learn. Make sure you're always adding beneficial bacteria if you do water changes or even filter changes, just in case. You never know. So that's one tip. But back to the test kit. So I tested this because you do need test kits if you're not able to have the experience to look at a tank like I do now. I hardly ever test my tanks. I'm not saying you should. That's just what I'm at now. I don't need to. I visually can see some of the issues in an aquarium, but always recommend, if you're adding fish to a new aquarium or shrimp, you do test it first. Not recommending not testing it. Any new aquarium I do test before I add inhabitants, but after that I don't really test regularly. So first we have our ammonia, which you can see from right here. My ammonia is at 0 parts per million. Yeah, right here. So if you look at the middle one, boom. Then I have my next one is my nitrites, and that's at 0 parts per million. Then I have my nitrates, which low nitrates for better plant growth and health. And you can see this is at, what side is it on? This side, 0 as well. So I'm all good water testing. Just had beneficial bacteria reduced, and I think that is where the staghorn came from, because there's nutrients in the aquarium. I could up the CO2, but then I risk my shrimp and fish, so I can't just like overdose with CO2. So just be aware. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove them, because I have some more crypt prevarias that I did for this scape right here to the left, which, by the way, is going to be coming out soon. I'll show you a little sneak peek. There's part of it. I don't know if that's coming out first, but if it did, cool, you've already saw it. If not, we'll see when I go through and edit it. But okay, enough about that. Let's talk about what I'm going to do first. So maintenance. What are we going to start with? we're gonna do some glass scraping, but typically I don't just scrape the glass. I also use a cloth scrubber to wash some of the algae off so it doesn't go straight into my water column. And then I'll glass scrape for the harder algae that doesn't want to come off. So we'll go through and do that. I'm gonna remove the cryptobarias, add some new ones in there. And then we're gonna do some siphoning to get some of the waste, because there is some waste around some of the crypts as well. So I'll show some macro filming too. But first and foremost, what I always start with is we'll start with the scrubber. Then I'm gonna go and trim. No, first I start with trimming. I don't know why I always think I start with glass cleaning, scraping first. I wanna trim, and then I'll do this because I don't want the algae floating around as I'm starting to disturb the glass. So let's go through and trim. So as you can see here, these are almost good. There's a couple taller ones in the back that I may trim. I don't even think I'm gonna do any trimming, to be honest, but I do have an issue right here. So what I'll point out is one of these crypts is starting to have root growth go into the water column. That is because there's nutrients more in the water column than there is in the substrate. So I'm gonna add some root tabs right in this area. All right, so I think I'm good. I just have a lot of waste in some areas, so you can see the waste right in here. So I'm going to do some spot vacuuming. But before you vacuum, you want to clean the glass because you're going to be taking a lot of the water out. So vacuum after is my tip to you all. And I think I have a floating piece of hair here. There we go. So I recommend vacuuming. Again, this tank, although it may look like it needs to be trimmed, I'm pretty heavy set on waiting to trim a little bit more. Like the back, I want it to grow a little bit higher, and these are fine. No, there's like 3 or 4 that I'm going to trim, so let's go through and trim those, and then I'll do some glass cleaning. Perfect. So now let's go and start glass cleaning as well. So you can see there's algae on it. We're just gonna use a cloth to rinse that off. Friction. Next is a glass scraper. Now the last thing to do is siphon all of the debris down. This is what I do weekly, aside from like removing stuff, is just clean the glass, siphon if I need to, slight water change. That's what I do weekly. Monthly, probably every 2 months, you'll clean the filter. I don't need to clean the filter because I already did at month 2 after I did my Hydra fixing. So that's good. But let me go through and do this and clean the substrate. All right, so we're about 25% of the water down. I'm just going to refill it, and then we'll capstone how you can unlock the secrets of maintaining a lush tank like this. So let's go through and fill this thing up. Alrighty, we filled it back up. This was one of the easier maintenances that I've had because, again, the secret to this, especially when you just started a tank, is doing maintenance every week. This one was a well-planted tank, so it required a lot of maintenance. The one that you're going to see here, low maintenance, not a lot of maintenance needed. But if you're maintaining them weekly when they're just getting them started, they're a lot more hands-off later on. So hopefully you found these tips helpful. This was a very quick one. Be aware of nutrients, right? Making sure you have the proper nutrients, making sure you have the proper filtration, right? And doing that every 2 months, I would say, to a month, depending on how many inhabitants you have. More of a heavy clean. But this wasn't that, so it was pretty easy. Now, if you have any questions, or I would love to know what challenges you encounter with your planted aquariums, let me know in the comments so I can help you on any of the journeys that you're having as well. But hopefully you found this tip of maintaining this newly set up aquarium. As you can tell, it's starting to flourish, which is awesome. Makes you feel great, happy, excited, seeing your tank take off. But hopefully you found this helpful. And if you did, please take this moment to like and subscribe. Maybe even turn on those notifications. It truly helps out the channel. And if you have any further questions or any tip videos that you want to see, I'll make them for you. Leave them in the comments. But until next time, I'll see you all on the next build video.